Hi, everybody. Welcome to my channel. Today we're going to crash your trash and turn something that was in the recycling bin into an awesome double-sided mark maker you really are going to want to add to your mixed media art journaling stash. And here it is. It is a salad container. This one had spinach. You can get different lettuces in it, but when you turn them upside down, you have this lovely texture. And I said to myself, hmm, I wonder how this would work on the gel plate. That's exactly where my thoughts went. So I took it, put it into my studio, and today I'm going to give it a try. I'm going to see if it makes some marks that work for me, that is something that I like. So I just wanted to get rid of the bulk. So I'm going to grab my scissors and I am just going to cut off the bin part. So really all I'm going to have is the texture plate. Because really that's what the bottom of this container is. So I'm just going to cut around here on the plastic. It's a little cumbersome to do, but it's not difficult by any means. Just be careful, if you use an X-Acto knife or use scissors, just be careful not to cut yourself. So here is the texture plate. And as soon as I cut it out, I realized it's double-sided. So I'm going to get the positive and the negative. So I'm getting double my pleasure out of it. So let's test it out on the gel plate. So I'm just putting down some color, it's quinacridone magenta, and I'm putting on some, I believe that's Naples yellow, and I'm just going to brayer this on my gel plate. I'm not really trying to make interesting anything on my gel plate. I just want to see what kind of marks this gives me and if it's something I'm going to want to keep or maybe not. And I just thought, you know what, I'm going to bring you along for the ride. So I'm mixing these colors on the plate. I like when I use the gel plate to mix several different shades or different colors. It just makes the pattern much more interesting. So I thought, okay, I want to lift up some of this. So I press this down on the one side. And then I realized there's a lot of paint on there. So you know what? I'm just going to stamp off of it. And I just grabbed a plain sheet and I'm pressing. And if you work quickly and you have a lot of paint on this, basically this mark maker is a stamp. Look at that. How easy. And look at the nice patterning that's there. Love it. So I've already decided this is a keeper. This is going to stay in my stash. But let's just play with it and see some variations on what we can make it do. And you can do this with any texture plate that you have. Interesting. I'm loving the pattern with the white through there. And right about now, I'm thinking, well, if I grabbed an existing gel print or paper that had another color on it, that would be on top of it. So already the ideas are flowing. So let's pull this print. So just put on, again, this is just copy paper, but it could be tissue paper. It could be any kind of paper you want it to be. I've used the brayer just to make good adhesion, and then I'm going to pull off. And there is my gel print. I love both the stamp and the gel print that was created. And look, we have lots of stuff left on the gel plate. So I want to pull that off. I don't want to waste anything. So I'm putting on some unbleached titanium. This is Liquitex Basics Fluid Acrylics that I got at Michael's. They were really well on the gel plate. So, and I'm spreading that out. I put a lot there. I think there was too much. Again, I'm going to now, this is the pull off print. And ooh, look at that. So we have one mark maker from the recycling bin, and we've used it as a stamp, and we've used it to get different pulls off of the gel plate. Let's keep playing because as I realize I have double-sided. So this time I'm already learning. I'm thinking, okay, I'm going to use it as a stamp, and I grab an existing gel print, and I think this bright aqua is going to look really great on there. So I'm brayering that on. Now, I made a mistake here. And the mistake is I didn't have quite enough paint. When you are using the gel plate as a stamp pad, you want a lot of paint on it so that you get that depth of color that you want. So here I've used the other side. This is the thin lined is what's going to show. And when I transfer it, because there's not a lot of paint on there, it's not as bright and bold as I wanted it, but it might be exactly what you want. So if you want it bolder, you want more paint on your gel plate that you are now using as a stamp pad. So here I'm just adding more. I have more of that aqua paint, and I'm just going to brayer that back on and see if I can get it brighter and bolder. At the end of the video, I'm going to show all the prints that I made using this double-sided texture plate slash stamp slash mark maker. I'm not sure what to call it, but it has multiple uses. Ooh, there. Do you see how much brighter that is with when the paint is a little bit, when you just have a lot more paint? So this could be, I'm doing this on a gel print, but this could be a background that I've already developed, and then I'm going to use the gel plate as a stamp pad to, and the mark maker as a stamp. And then you get this beautiful pattern on your art journal page. So now we have, this on our gel plate. So I want to pull that off. Nothing goes to waste. Now I only use one color here, so it's not terribly interesting, but I call this a good base coat gel print. You're going to want to build something else on that. But there is texture and pattern on it. But again, we have lots still left on the gel plate. So here I'm putting um, Prussian blue, but you want what's on the gel plate to dry first. While this is about the mark maker, it is also a few tips about gel printing. So there we go. I'm putting that on. And I'll grab a piece of paper to pull that off. But before I do that, I thought, oh, you know what? Let's do some more stamping on there. So I grabbed my DIY texture plate, and it's wet, and I'm stamping on there. And look at how that works. I think this looks like, like a net. If you wanted to go coastal or, ocean theme, this could be a net. You could put some starfish on that, all for the low, low price of 0. Remember, this was a container I was ready to toss into the recycling bin. So now all these bins, I will be turning them over and seeing, do they have different patterns? Different lettuces? Are they different patterns, or are they all the same? How many mark makers can I add to my stash? So here I'm just pulling off this print. I love this with the dark blue and the light aqua. And again, because I'm using lots of paint, because I'm using it as a stamp, then lots is left on the plate, which allows you to get multiple pulls. So this is what I recommend. If you're using your gel plate, use 1 or 2 mark makers and do a variety of things. Really see what they can do. So we already have the bright aqua on there. We have the Prussian blue, and I've added yellow green on there. I'm thinking that'll give me a nice contrast. And I'm just brayering off the excess into my Yellow Pages phone book here. And then I'm going to pull this print. At the end, again, I'm going to show all the prints, and you'll see the variety, all with the same mark maker. Oh, look, there's still lots of grunge on the plate, so there's going to be another pull, but look at this print. Can you say yummy? That I could use as an Insta background. So if you don't have a gel plate, you can just brayer on the paint right onto this mark maker and then stamp it either on the gel plate or stamp it onto your art journal page or gel print or something else. But you do not need to necessarily have a gel plate to use as a stamp pad because you can brayer it on like you're seeing me doing here. So imagine instead of that being a gel plate, I'm going to let that dry before I put a coat and do a pull off print. But here's, I can break an art journal page by stamping on it that way, right? Oftentimes you want to break a page, do some stamping on it, do some, that's that first layer. It breaks the page. It just kind of switches something in my brain and lets me freeze me up. So here I'm just going to stamp, and I'm using Prussian blue, but you could use black or any color. So there is the beginnings of a page. Now I can come back and I can colorize it, I can texturize, add collage papers, but my page is broken. So you can stamp right on an art journal page. Here I'm stamping on one of those brayered off sheets from my Yellow Pages book. I can grab this texture plate, this mark maker, whatever we want to call it, and add little bits of interest on existing pages that I have. Another gel print that I have that's in my stash. It has a base coat, base pattern, and just add the next layer. I am so excited to go back to the grocery store and turn over more of these containers and see what other kind of patterns I can find. You can stamp these onto book paper or music paper to make collage sheets that you can use. I love how the book paper, the print is coming through the open holes there. And if this gets clogged with paint, you can throw it out and then you can go buy another one. Here I'm just adding some quinacridone magenta to it. I show this print later on. So this will not even be packed along with my gel print stuff. This is going into my handy dandy mark maker thing because I think I can use it in a day-to-day process on my art journal pages without the gel plate. So here I'm just going to brayer on, I think it's that first side again. And there's that aqua one. I've put one layer, I've stamped already on it with one thing. Now I'm stamping with another color. I'm just trying things out. And that's what I encourage you to do. Whatever mark maker tool that you find, whether it's in your recycle bin or it comes from the dollar store, Try it out, see what it can do, and then decide, does it earn a place in your studio, or was it just a good idea that just didn't come to play? This one, this is a good idea. And there's the print that I pulled. So there is my double-sided positive and negative texture plates, mark maker tools, and here are some of the prints. This one we use it as a stamp. This one was used on the gel plate. This was the first pull. And this was the clean off print for the second pull. Here we use the bright aqua on a stamp as a stamp, and we use the tool as a stamp with that bright aqua on that existing base colored gel print. This was on the gel plate. And this one has, I've used the tool, the mark making tool in a multitude of ways. It was a gel print, it was a stamp, both sides of the stamp. Lots of interest. This one will work well. Oh, love the grunge of this one. That's going to be an Insta background for sure. And the grunge of this one too. You've got the pattern, but it's not perfect. You've got lots of color. And then here I've used it as a stamp as you would on an art journal background that you've already created. So go to the lettuce aisle and look under to see what textures are lurking that you can use as wonderful mark making tools. Until next time, go get creative.